Hey everybody, what's up? Fabian for Liberty, and in New York City over the weekend, it's been an absolute, just been a blast this weekend, really. I'll tell you, I went down to Occupy Wall Street the other day, and it was kind of really overwhelming, I'll tell you. And I've just kind of been grouping my thoughts here this morning, thinking, okay, what do I want to say? I've been telling you for about a month now that I was headed down here. And so here goes. I just want to comment on that, comment on some other things I've seen down here, and just, other things over the world, really. First, so, with the Occupy Wall Street protests, there seems to be, at least a lot of people I spoke to, and I also read it in the paper, what have you. I remember when I pulled in here, or when I got here, the New York Post had this story about this big fight breaking out, but it was really between one guy who ended up to be homeless. Now, most of the people out there were saying, or many of them were saying, a lot of the homeless are being bussed in. Check out this little garden spot here, how cool this is. Pretty neat. But a lot of the homeless were just being bussed in, and they're many of the troubles you hear about were being caused by them. I don't know if that's the truth or not. But I heard that like 3 or 4 times, and then, I've read stories about that. But it's interesting, you read the stories, and then you go down there. So, there's tents up everywhere. I don't really see how the city of New York is going to allow this to go on much longer. And I wonder if the whole notion of letting them set up and kind of stay there for a while, and then having to bring in the police to clear it up, if that's not part of the setup overall. Going back even to our founders, when they were pushing for revolution in America, or forced to, I believe, by the king, like many people think we're being forced to, reset the system. But it was interesting because back then it was the same thing happened. They would infiltrate liberty groups. They would, the Samuel Adams Sons of Liberty, that group was infiltrated all the time. They were said to be crazy radicals, and that's the same thing happening with the Occupy Wall Street movement. And there's no question, I've covered it extensively in my Fabian for Liberty program, that some of the movement has been co-opted, and that's kind of old news. But I'll tell you, after going there yesterday, I really believe that I still stick to half of the people there genuinely have a beef, and they're trying to do what they think they are, what they can do to do something about the criminal organization that is these Wall Street mega banks. So, what ends up happening, I don't know. These protests continue to descend into chaos, like what happened in Oakland, where one of the largest ports in the U.S. was shut down. 11,000 workers had to stop, couldn't get paid because they weren't working. So it's just getting more and more chaotic, and this is, I think, a glimpse into 2012 and what to expect there, That food inflation report that I did the other day, which has gotten a lot of great reviews, and I want to thank all of you that have watched the video. I think I failed to make the point as just dramatic or as hardcore as it is, that these people are out in the streets now. It's starting to get cold down here. It's going to get even colder. Will they stay there? But they're making the protest without even the real food inflation hitting yet. What happens when food goes up another 10%? Extreme poverty in America is increasing dramatically. Food stamp usage is increasing dramatically. Close to half of Americans are dependent on government at some form or another. So what happens when the money they're getting doesn't buy them that much food? That's, I think, the real flashpoint for revolution and for violence and chaos. And we are so close to that I think most people don't realize it. And even in big cities like these, because the fact being that it's still a very small minority. These protests by no means, Occupy Wall Street, are representative of the entire American population. Less than 1% are taking place in these things, as opposed to well, not even even in like Greece and in Egypt, same thing. It's a small percentage. But you have to understand too that in the American Revolution, it was, I think, 15% that fought for the revolution, that were actually revolutionaries. You know, yes, after that there were people that supported them, but there was only 15% or so that were actually involved. And now new college tests show that just 10% can make an unbelievable difference. So I think there's definitely 10% of us that are recognizing what's happening in this country, where we're going, and everything else. So, you know, it's just like you go to that place and you're so overwhelmed and it's so unbelievable and there's so many people from all over. It's also the New York Marathon's taking place today. I mean, everywhere you go, there's just... I'm from Tampa. I'm not even from Tampa. I'm from a city on the outskirts of Tampa, and, you know, I grew up in the big city my whole life in Los Angeles, but Los Angeles just spread around. New York City's like no other place I've been to in the world. I've been all over the place. So it's, I'm still kind of, like I said, at a loss for words in a way. I guess you wouldn't think so if I've been rambling for almost 6 minutes. I'm not really at a loss for words, but I think you know what I mean. You know, lastly, I wanted to just say that the level of knowledge at these movements, you know, again, I think that a lot of people know about the demonic Federal Reserve, but I wonder how many people know about the European debt crisis and the influence it has there, and, you know, and my answer is I don't know, but we've obviously seen Greece descend into chaos. Papandreou got a vote of confidence. He's called off the referendum vote. And I think what's happening there is that all these countries are preparing for the inevitable. They know that eventually there's going to be some kind of default on part of on Greece's part. And the question is it orderly or is it disorderly? I mean, basically, George Soros, who is, I think, somebody that you can look at, and you know, he's somebody that definitely knows what's going on. Yeah, just real quick point on him. He met with the New York City chief, Kelly, about the Occupy Wall Street protest a few weeks ago. Had a private meeting with him. No one knows what they even met about, or what they even talked about. So what does he know? I mean, he's saying that a disorderly default by Greece is very possible, and it could lead to run on the banks everywhere, including Italy and Spain. And we know he's made money from betting that economies fail. And I would even go a step further and say he's had, you know, obviously inside information onto what's going to happen and all this other stuff with the economies. So that's just a huge point. But I guess, you know, I look at these, being from Tampa and watching the Occupy Tampa be so small. And when I mean small, I mean there's maybe 500 people out there. But here you're talking thousands of people, still not a majority of Americans, but you definitely get an energy out here that's different, and you just wonder what's in store for 2012. I really believe 2012 is definitely, it's not the end of the world, none of that, but it's a flashpoint. Something's going down, and something's already going down, and it seems like all of the, you know, the perfect storm that we've talked about, Europe, food inflation across the board, you know, Bernanke going to print more money. All of these things are coming to a head, and 2012 is the year. And, you know, it's going to be a real roller coaster ride. So, anyways, just wanted to share with you my thoughts. I'll be back shooting Fabian for Liberty program episode 6 on Tuesday. Got some great things planned this week. Also have some great interviews coming in the shows to come. Right? Thanks for watching. I'm out.